Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Rise and Write with Grace and James. I'm Grace.
I'm James.
And this is a place for creators, collaborators, and fun company for the journey. Last week I interviewed Jim. It was good, he says, yeah. This week we are flipping the coin and he is going to interview me for our second practice interview. And then next week, hopefully, if all goes well, we will go live with some guests. So we're excited about that. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
You're ready. Okay, he's
ready.
Time. Okay.
Tough act to follow. So
okay, it is. I know.
All right. So we'll start off with the question you asked me, which is, what are you working on?
What am I working on? I am working on this podcast. Vod-cast. I'm calling it a vod-cast. VOD-cast.
Coin that.
Calling it a vodcast and a blogcast because then I transcribe it and put it in the on the website. So that's something I'm working on. I have a nonfiction book, which you know about and are part of. We call it our grief book. This is a book that we're 35,000 word rough draft right now that I am self-editing, which is quite an endeavor. And then our screenwriting, of course.
Right.
So, and we covered some of that last week. We talked about the Amazon thriller project and the family comedy project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what I have going on. Yeah.
That's it? I feel like I have one night going on all day. Whatever. So, what is your morning routine? What kind of gets you going, other than just having me in the house?
Yes, that's. I'm a slow waker-upper, so.
We share that.
Yeah, I'm not, thankfully, in a spot where I don't have to jump out of bed in the morning right now, which is great. So I like to use my morning time to get my brain going, whether it's just checking the news, which I know you're not supposed to do, or checking up on email, checking social media.
No, those are good places to start
I know,
the day.
terrible ways to start the day. But checking in with my writers group, checking in with my other creative groups. I like to check in.
When you say check in, what do you mean? With your writers group?
My writers group, we have morning check-ins and evening check-ins. So in the morning,
what does that look like?
In the morning, we check in with each other to let each other know what we're working on, what our plan is for the day, and then at night, in the afternoon, we check in for accountability. To see if we've kept our promises to ourselves, which is, when you're a writer, really it's the easiest thing to let yourself off the hook when you're a writer, because there's 1,000 reasons to not do it. And it's good to surround yourself with people who are expecting you to keep your promises to yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Who don't have skin in the game. Like my writers group, they don't. If I produce or not, it doesn't matter to them. They're only concerned that it matters to me. And that's important because there's no pressure to perform for them. It's purely me keeping the promises that I make to myself.
Why is that important? Why does it matter to you? The writing itself. Like, why does it matter to you?
I think, it's a great question. I think
damn right it is. Letterman's off the air.
So the word confidence is built of a couple different words, and it's con is with, and then I think it's fidere, or the middle word means fidelity.
I made a Latin lesson.
I know. I love words. And so confidence is trusting yourself, and you can't fake confidence because you either trust yourself or you don't trust yourself. So it's really important in areas where there's no accountability. So it's easy to get out of work for a job. We know that.
Yeah.
It's easy to get up for a 5 a.m. flight because the airline is not going to wait for you. Right. It's easy to get yourself up into the vet when the dog is sick. But for yourself, do you keep the promises to yourself when no one is looking? And there's
also, if I can interject, there's guarantees in those things. If you have you go to work, there's a guarantee 100%, well within reason, that you're going to be paid a certain amount or whatever.
Or get fired if you don't show.
There's no firing or guarantees, good or bad.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to exercise little ways, and I've struggled with it my for a lot of my adult life, because I've relied on jobs or other people to kind of keep me accountable. And more recently, I've been in a spot where I've had to keep myself accountable. And it's really easy to cheat when no one's looking. So
it's what you do when people aren't looking. That's important.
So
Boom.
It's good to surround yourself with, I try to surround myself with friends who don't let me off the hook, which seems like the opposite of what most people would want. They want friends around them who allow them to have excuses and allow them to make excuses or go easy on themselves. And I think there's a lot of room for grace. I think grace is important, especially with ourselves, and compassion for ourselves. But I think at a point, if you make if you're not going to keep promises to yourself, I think it really starts to erode your self-confidence. And underneath self-confidence is self-worth. So I agree. These are pretty heavy topics that we've been exploring. Anyway.
So who do you collaborate with, and what do you like and dislike about the collaborative process?
This is a loaded question.
Collaboratories is what they call us.
Our collaboratory is our loft here. This is my collaborator mainly. Collaborate with James. What I like most about collaborating with you is I think we have an ease.
Yeah, I think so.
Like we have an ease. Jim and I don't take each other too seriously. We can fight freely, which I know sounds unpleasant, but we can allow each other to express ourselves and not take it, like it's not always personal because we've been writing together and been together so long. And we're going home to each other, so we know not to let it get too far because as soon as the laptop closes, we're here with each other. So
feels like centuries.
Sometimes it's hard. But so that's one of the things I like best is that, and that we can work whenever we want.
There's a convenience.
Yeah. So we're going out to the beach this afternoon. We can work a little bit in the car. We can grab moments when we have moments, and we don't have to like catch up or ramp up or anything. We can just sit down and work. So those are the things I like best. What I don't like about it, and Jim knows this is not a secret, is that we're not always on the same page about urgency or pacing or deadlines. Like I think
deadlines are important.
Well, we both think deadlines are important.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I like to know how long I build a deadline based on how long something will take, and Jim builds how long something should take based on his deadline. So we come at it from the opposite sides a little bit. So that sometimes we butt heads.
But yeah, no,
we butt heads on deadlines sometimes. We're not always in agreement on, I don't know. Can we write a script in a week?
No.
Jim would say, yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
He says no now.
Well, just lay it out. But I think that also, despite sometimes we don't agree, we usually creatively find ourselves in the same place. Rarely is there a place where we're never, the hero dies, the hero lives, and we just never get to an agreement. Normally, we find, something that we agree on, or, neither one of us, I think, have felt, really compromised. Like, well, I just really felt this way, but we went in a totally different direction.
Sometimes we'll get stuck on like one line of dialogue that we'll have a whole script ready to send, and there's like one or two lines of dialogue that either I love and Jim hates, or he just thinks they're hysterical and I don't. So we'll usually...
And you find out it really doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't, because nobody's...
no one even read that piece of dialogue.
So those are some things that we disagree with sometimes.
Right. Well, it's sort of lining up, like, we all know that it's hard. We hear that verbatim, and it's almost... It's so hard. It's kind of boring to talk about. But what do you do? What do you do when it does get hard? When you're having trouble creating, or we're having trouble, or what have you? What is the process to? It
depends on what part got hard.
Hard less.
Yeah, if it's the creating part and it's hard, I like to use. I rely on. I'll go back to a formula. like a template or something that will get me jump started. So I use a lot of, I have a little file I call toolbox, and it has some outlines, some blank outlines and some blank story pages that if we're stuck, I can kind of go to that and fill in. So that gets us jump started sometimes if we're stuck.
Yeah. It'll be questions.
Yeah.
What does the person want? What's the person need? What's the person afraid of? Those kind of things. So
kind of the basics. Because sometimes you forget about that stuff. You're thinking about the end of the movie and you forget about the beginning stuff. So with collaborating, if we get stuck, that'll take me a little longer because I haven't quite. Sometimes I get stuck on something and I can't let it go. If something's not going my way, I'll usually just resort to closing up and cleaning and resorting to the things I can control, cleaning or.
So you take a break from the work.
Yeah, I'll get to house cleaning or I'll pick up another project totally irrelevant from writing and just try to get my brain out of that state and then maybe revisit it.
So what do you do? You've actually mentioned one of your tools, but what do you do for fun? Like, what do you do to just for you, that's aside from the work that helps fill you up for when it is time to work? We talked about some of mine, which are also yours, like TV and movies, but what are some things that you do just that have nothing to do with me or anyone else? Yeah,
and that's important if you're working with a partner.
That's why I asked.
I know. I appreciate that. That's why I wrote it down for you. I gave him little cheat sheets. It's really important if you're working with or living with your collaborator that you have your own things going on, because I think it enriches your own life and it helps you bring something different to the table than that person would have. So we've moved a bunch of times in our lives. People who know us know this. So one of my projects is trying to declutter our space or trying to I'm involved in some groups that circulate around that. I have an internship. I've actually signed on for a year-long internship intensive with an author. And I mentioned her in my week 1 blog. She's the reason why I'm doing this, because that part of the internship is the expectation that I will put some things out into the world. So the internship has been really critical. Otherwise, I have my singing group, which is a very small part of my year. And
Choir Fest.
Yeah, choir in the summer.
Every year. It just doesn't get old. I wish it was like Christmas. I wish it was all year long.
It's an inside joke. It's one weekend out of the year.
You like stodgy choir music, you're missing out.
So, I stay in touch with my friends from home. And
time with the dog.
Yeah.
And you're Kundalini in the morning.
And I do yoga in the morning. That's part. You asked about my morning routine. Yeah, that's part of I have a very fixed morning routine that I follow. That doesn't involve gym and doesn't involve the dog or anything, and that helps me.
So, all right. So we have to
take control of my morning.
Yeah. So, winding up. So, any last minute thoughts here in the last minute or so, or do you want to share anything, thoughts or anything?
That's a good question, and I wasn't ready for that one.
Well, that's the great ones do that.
I think the one thing I'm thinking about is, I call the website Rise and Write, but it's not about the mornings because, and I sign off with this, but I think the thing is to pay attention to what time of day you feel most creative and productive. And I mentioned that I'm not a morning person, but the nonfiction book that I wrote solely in the wee hours of the morning, 500 words at a time in bed, because my brain, the editing system is off. So mornings are a very good time for me to free write. I couldn't free write in the afternoon. Once the day gets going and it's busy, I'm not good for free writing because my editing brain is already engaged. If we have editing work to do, I do that best in the afternoons. And then our creative collaborating work that we do is pretty consistently from the beginning. Our best work has always been at night. Mm-hmm. Jim and I will sit down when the day is done, and some people will say it's not a good idea to leave it to the end of the day, but for us, we know that there's that hour or two at the end of the day where we can sit down and really hash out something. And No one's going to interrupt us. That's just but I think it's, for other writers, I think the idea is to pay attention to when your creative brain is working, when your editing brain is working, when your polishing brain is working, because I think there's different times a day for that.
Agreed.
Right? Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I think that we did pretty well.
We did 15 minutes this time. Yeah. So, we're getting better.
We are.
Okay. So let us know. I
was going to say something.
Jim wants to say something.
That's
no,
it.
it's okay. Go ahead.
It's your show.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's your show. It's the Grace and Jim show. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we're doing. We're hoping that next week we are going to go live in the group with a guest. I'm really, really hoping that happens. Give us a like, give us a comment, send us a note. Please let us know how we're doing. I know it's we're on Facebook. It's a little crickety right now. We would love to hear from you, and we would even more.
We're going to start a YouTube channel.
Jim wants to start YouTube, so that'll be a new thing.
We're going to, yeah. So we'll send a link for that as well.
Accountability right here with you. Yeah, absolutely.
But I just have to figure out. We've never done that before.
Yeah. So we're going to start a YouTube. We'll start the YouTube. We'll see how that goes, and we would love if you want to talk with, let us know how your answers to these questions. We would love to chat with you. On the main page, you can click over to the private group. Join us in there. We've got 8 people now chatting weekly. I pepper questions all week long. We trade information. Join us there. And that's it. Let us know how we're doing. Okay.
All right.
Sorry we went long. I'm over. Right. I'm over 15 minutes. So we will see you. We will see you next week. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right here.
Of course.
Until then, set your alarms for whatever time you feel most creative and productive. And until then, I'm not going to edit this one. Until then, go, rise, and write.
Bye.
Bye.